rest of council? Hearing none, seeing none, moving on to item 5, consent agenda. Take a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
I've nothing to change. Will just make a comment on number 5. And also nothing specific against Sparta Environmental. I don't know anything about them, but I do think overall we're going the wrong direction with having another hauler for garbage. I think we got a lot of trucks around. I don't know that it's a huge priority. Just let you know, and I know it's addressed before, but my 2 cents.
I certainly wouldn't disagree and think that maybe that needs some discussion in the future. This one isn't, aren't they coming just to pick up somebody's dumpster?
Just one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah.
they got a permit to
That's
haul
right.
in here, so that doesn't mean they couldn't solicit more customers. So
Yep.
I forgot about that.
something we need to consider. I agree, Rob.
But I know we talked about it even a couple weeks ago, and I think, right, they have to do an annual. So I think that we can take a full look. Would you do that for the next meeting? Would you put in our packet all of the collectors that we have coming to town, just so we know, and then we can decide what we want to do from there?
Good. So I just
I know,
this up,
but I'm curious.
Could you find out from them easily and tell me no? If could we find out how many customers some of those have? My contention is we've got a couple that have 95% of the people in town, and taking off. Sorry, getting.
Yeah. Okay. Motion second. Roll call.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Vogel. Yes. Sarchet,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walter.
Yes. Motion carries. Next item is new business. Under new business, action item 1, park projects. Item A, Tim West from Snyder and Associates presents park project plans, specs, and form of contract. Mr. West.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tim West with Snyder and Associates. We have on your agenda the parks plans for phase 1 improvements for Lost Lake, Dock Simmer, and 12 Oaks Park. We're putting in, for the most part, infrastructure improvements to kind of get the parks off and started. The main item associated with those parks is trail connections, so that those all get kind of connected to the local sidewalk system or trail systems that are adjacent to those parks. We're also looking at routing in some electrical water utilities to Lost Lake and 12 Oaks, and looking at some drinking stations as well. There's some improvements such as expanding some of the parking at Dock Simmer. We're looking at an open shelter at 12 Oaks. Some other improvements. I can go into those details if you'd like. We are looking at releasing bids for the bid documents here in the next couple of days, and April 17th bid date is coming back to the 23rd consideration.
I'd be interested in a brief overview of each park and what's being recommended, just for council and record.
Sounds great. So I'll just kind of leaf through the plans here. On Lost Lake, we're looking at connecting from Lost Lake Drive, which is residential street, through the park to Broadway, and then connecting to both sidewalks on both the northwest, southeast side of that. We're looking at adding some enclosures for portable restrooms. So it'd be like the composite wooden enclosure that would be around there, similar to what's at Leonard, and putting those at all the parks. Also a drinking fountain that would be located in that park, and then some plant material at Lost Lake with water, electric utility into the park for future expansion on the electrical side.
Can I ask a question on that? Because I know, Mike, we had talked phase 1, phase 2 kind of stuff. Does that incorporate both phase 1 and phase 2, or is that only really?
This is just phase 1 on these parks, except for Dock Simmer.
Okay.
We definitely want, this would be everything.
Totally, yeah. Okay, phase 1, all right. Because I know there had been some discussion, I think, first said to move forward with this, that maybe we would try and incorporate phase 1 and 2, but we're just saying phase 1 for.
Yeah, this is phase 1 right
Perfect.
now.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's
Well, and so to that end, and sorry to interrupt you, Tim, I thought that what I heard at the parks meeting when Zimmer Park was discussed was that it was good like it was, and so knowing that, I'm all for, I want to hear more about the park stuff too, at 12 Oaks and Lost Lakes, but I don't think that we need to do anything. So I think we've got a number of parks that we need to ramp up. I think Simmer Park, you could argue that there's some finishing there, but given the fact that that's where we are, and I know we're just bidding this stuff, but my thought on this would be to remove Simmer Park from the equation entirely, move full bore ahead with the other two, based on a consensus of the neighbors. And Ron, you were there too, at the January meeting. That, not to say that we can't ever do anything, but given that we have nothing at Lost Lake, we have nothing at 12 Oaks, we have nothing at some other parks that are in developments that are coming, and developments that are existing, but the parks aren't there yet, to not even go through the preliminary work on Simmer.
I'd like to hear what your proposal is for Simmer before we
We've
kind of
taken
axe
that
that.
into
But
consideration. The improvements at Simmer are fairly minimal
Right.
based upon that input, so we're looking at really establishing an infrastructural baseline that's just really putting the park on the map almost. So we're in large, there's a gravel driveway that goes part the way in there.
Mhm.
We're expanding that gravel a little bit to accommodate up to 5 to 6 parking stalls in there on gravel, looking at a portable restroom enclosure as well, and looking at a few picnic table slabs that would be used for only that.
And I know that that's what the neighbors up there had asked for, was look, if we could put a couple picnic tables up there, I think was kind of what they were after. But without that parking lot, and I know where you're at with it, but without that parking lot, there's really no way for that park to be accessible, I guess, is other than walking.
From people other outside of the neighborhood.
Yes.
Which our model is neighborhood parks. So I would argue, and I know this isn't marginal spend compared to the other two, most of it's at Lost Lakes and 12 Oaks, but why would we be spending money on parking to make it more useful for people other than that are around?
Because I would make the argument on the other ones that you've at least got street parking on those other areas, whereas that area up there, you don't have street parking.
Understand, but again, being very well used by the neighborhood around.
Mayor answered that one, I guess, like I would, that there isn't really a infrastructure in place for parking. So that we try to keep it as bare minimum as possible and still allow use. Some of it might be outside the neighborhood, but for the most part, it's just bare improvements of that park.
Tim, would you say that, the concrete block retaining wall probably be the biggest, or is it already there?
There's not.
No plans for that.
That's just labeled, I didn't know, didn't figure so, but, so it's really minimal.
Yep.
Wasn't it December meeting? Or maybe you
I don't remember which one it was.
when
Yeah.
when most of the people
When
were
the whole
here,
group
we
came,
talked,
yeah.
because we talked about dog park, and obviously
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen.
Why'd you-
I don't know, but yeah, that was discussed. I think the minimal wasn't either.
What I heard at that Parks meeting was the neighbors like what it is now, the usage slabs for picnic tables definitely was wanted. I was led to believe that maybe there'd be a donation of a couple picnic tables and some benches or something. I'm not saying that'll happen, but that's kind of what I heard. The neighbors didn't want a fence. I anticipate they'll be back to us later on when kids start cutting through their yards that they'll want a fence, but that remains to be seen, and doesn't mean we can't do something in the future.
No utility improvements at that park. Moving on to 12 Oaks.
Sorry to cut you off.
Establishment of a trail that extends into the heart of the park, doesn't continue on. Loop that goes all the way down the South Drive, which we consider phase 2. We are establishing the linear shelter in this project, and electric water utility to there along the fountain, and the enclosure for the portable restroom as well. There are a few little storm sewer improvements, little culverts, so we could drain that area through the sidewalk area. But beyond that, those are this plan. 12 Oaks. Along with that, of course, is some earthwork shaping, very limited in all the parks. And then there's also some restoration seed those areas disturbed. We also have the wetland seeding that's going to occur at Lost Lake, some trees that.
How about at 12 Oaks around the pond? Is there any work being done on that? I know that was a point of contention last year. Just curious.
That's pretty much phase 2.
Okay.
The pond is phase 2.
Okay.
So have we learned anything from our other neighborhood pond about how to seed it and not have to go and reseed it? What we can put out there that'll maintain? I don't know the answer. It is really a question. Because we know how many times we've tried to, why am I losing the market? The other
Free to go.
Thank you. Tried to forget it. You know,
It's been a while.
we had to reseed it several times, and some of the stuff took, some didn't. So I don't know. Well,
Our plan is we've already talked to the mowing contractor, and it's going to be mowed and string trimmed is what it's going to be at this point.
Okay.
And then we can always change that, you know, in phase 2 when we discuss that. But right now, that's what I have on plan.
Perfect.
And this is running this, and I think we've addressed it, but this is running the sidewalk off 12 Oaks, right? And that's where that's heading, because I know that was an issue too, that's been an area that hasn't been kept. So that would be an area that's running that sidewalk from that residence all the way back off of 12 Oaks.
Off of 12 Oaks.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that one's been questioned.
All of this was kind of separated and double checked against the construction budget, which was allocated for that phase project. We're at 250,000 was the estimate. We're just a shy bit underneath that with some construction. So we'll be moving forward with the engineer's estimate $2,000. Looking at that here shortly with I think an late October completion date. Let's say November 1st or 3rd. August 31st. Sorry, August.
Questions, comments? Comments from you? Anything to add?
We tried to stay within that budgetary number, and we did hear about, you know, Doc Zimmer Memorial Park, and we scaled that back quite a bit from what we had. So that's what we tried to do it, and we've done it so far.
And if we're pouring any concrete anywhere else, and there's happens to be, you know, enough for a couple slabs, that would be great to put in. You know, I'm not saying it's gonna be free concrete. I'm just saying if we're doing any improvements anywhere else, and we're able to parlay that into, you know, pouring that concrete up there, that might be an idea. Because it's gonna be a small job for whoever does it anyway.
Right.
That might be too hard logistically.
Well, that was part of why these were combined. This was to
Yeah.
not pay through the nose.
Well, yeah, I was. Yep.
Yeah, we can look for those opportunities if they come.
I know that it's a considerable amount of money considering what we spent in the past on parks, but it's a start, and I believe it should be a slow process. We obviously can't go in all at once and do everything we wanted to for a long time, so I think we need to start somewhere, and this is a start. And if we can't, the bids come in, I think we start cutting back then. I don't think we need to spend it.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of the crux of my position, that park development has been at a premium. I think that we've got a number of parks that are at a zero, and so to spend any, you know, penny on Simmer to take it from 80 to 85 or 90% or whatever, given all the other things that we're, you know, we got Woodhaven coming on, we got a number of other projects that are going to be big park projects, saving any money that we can. But want to be clear, I'm very excited about Lost Lakes and 12 Oaks. I think those are important steps forward that we're going to make there. So, but
I'm not sure what you're saying.
I'm saying I would like to amend the motion to exclude Zimmer Park and not even go out for bid on those items, and just focus on even lessening the amount that we spend, so we can make some other parks more palatable for these parks, phase 2, whatever, the Parks and Rec Director is something that I think that, we like to work towards, and every little bit helps towards that. So I don't wanna take any money from Parks, whatever form that is, but I don't think after what I heard from the neighbors in Simmer Park that should be, amongst our high priority items, for quite some time.
I appreciate what you're saying. I respectfully disagree only because I have had conversations with Mr. Timmy, who did come down to the meeting, talk since then a couple different times. And I, if we could, for minimal cost, and I don't know what that minimal cost is, but figure out what it is as we get the bid documents back, figure out if we can pour a couple slabs of concrete up there. If they can, maybe we pull back a picnic table or two. Maybe we do get them to make a donation up there, but then at that point we are able to complete it. But then again, maybe if we get the bid documents back and it's too far over, that's the first one that gets cut. Just my opinion. Ron, you live up there, and I'm more curious about your.
I know, and that's why I don't have a lot to say.
Okay.
Well, if I feel, I again appreciate the comments, but if I remember correctly, we did commit to giving them some sort of picnic or place to hang out, if you will, and we mentioned, those are the good foundations. Now, I also think that what Jason said is we at least bid it, and I think that would be a prudent time is when it comes back and it's like, wow, really, for that, we could get this over here. And then the argument seemed to settle better with me, not saying that it's a bad idea.
No, I mean,
but,
clearly bearing the lead here with
yeah,
focusing on
clearly, but,
a piece of this, but I would argue we've already done that. Mike, you guys, how much have we spent, at Simmer Park the last couple of years? I put you on the spot, I'm sorry.
I can't put the
We
number.
talked
a lot.
I mean, yeah, that's
Work,
right.
tile work, then some grade work, yeah, with some rock on top.
Well, yeah, I think we should. I don't, in what we're spending at $250,000, there's not much being some part.
I just was curious more from your neighborhood group site. Yeah.
I mean, they're happy with what it is, but they would like to have some picnic tables there, maybe just, I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Item B, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-29, ordering construction of certain public improvements for the 2018 Parks Improvements Project, fixing dates for public hearing there on April 23rd, 2018 at 6 p.m. and taking the bids there on April 17th at 10 a.m. Take a motion.
So move.
Just move. Go.
second,
Roll call, please.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes. Motion carries. Item 2, consider motion to approve the purchase of 2018 F-350 single cab pickup to replace Public Works 2004 F-350 in the amount of $23,873.32, including trade, plus $17,307 for the equipment package. Total cost $41,180.32, budgeted in fiscal year 17-18 in the amount of $40,500. Mike, do you have anything to add to that long paragraph?
Throwing another
To
figure
explain
there.
it, so, yeah, it is on our equipment list for change out. I believe it was even a year ago, and we had to change another truck out that was giving us problems. Now, this one here is 14 years old, and now it's given us some problems. As you can see, I believe we attached the repair list with that on there for your viewing. So anyway, everything that's there is what the numbers are, and that's what I'd be asking for tonight. This is part of our plowing operation also, so this would be equipped with the plow, with the sander, and the lights, those type of things.
Questions for Mike? Take a motion.
motion to approve. Sorry, Bill. So moved.
Roll call, please. How'd that go for you, Dave?
Good.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Dvorak?
Yes.
Vogel? Yes.
Motion carries. Item 3, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-30, awarding ambulance bid to Flock Emergency Vehicles at bid price $208,000 and authorizing the sale of 2005 Ford F-450 Type 3 ambulance. Dan?
Yeah, so I guess included in your packet is the bid from Clocky Emergency Vehicles. Some other details, there's just a little bit of loose equipment missing off of that total. We had originally planned on 225. Believe that. So, yeah. So the total you got 218 even and plus the plus so 218 is the ambulance itself, and then there's some computer equipment. It adds just a little bit to that, but the vehicle itself is 218.
This resolution, Mayor and Council, also, once the ambulance is in operation, authorizes the sale of the 2005 Ford.
Yeah, unknown on the amount on that. I can guess based on the last one that we sold, that special operations truck that we sold brought in 13. So I'm hopeful that we would get at least 20 out of that, but it's purely a guess. So we use that Gov Deals, and it's that online auction. Based on what we got out of that 1998, 6 months ago, I would think 2005 should bring.
But you set a minimum bid.
Yeah, we can set a minimum, yeah. And it just says, we didn't even do the trade-in. Typically, they give us $10,000 on a trade-in. So we proved that on the last one, that's not. So I think we turned down the $10,000 on that last one and had it for another, I don't know, 6 or 7 years and sold it for 13 or so. Definitely the Gov deal. And we'd be looking at probably a September.
Is that when they want their money, Dan?
That's a really good question. I don't remember seeing that. I think sometimes they require some type of a deposit. It won't be that full amount, but I don't remember seeing that in their bid. So I'd have to.
Questions or comments? Motion.
Motion to approve resolution 2018-30.
Second.
Roll call, please.
DeVore,
Yes.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes. Motion carries. Item 4, consider motion to approve purchase and installation of fire department gear racks at cost of $14,732, identified as part of the 17-18 budget. Yours again.
Yeah, so I still don't have any myself. This is one that's been off for a few years. This is replacing the gear racks. These would be a wall mount gear racks. We have $15,000 in this year's budget to do this project. And so the gear racks themselves are $14,732, and based on the construction of the building, we're not certain that we're going to be able to do that installation ourselves, although we probably will still attempt, but likely we'll need a contractor to help us with that. So the Firefighters Association said basically if we have to do the install, that they'll pick up the tab for that, whatever we can do. So we're looking for $14,732. This does get our gear locations up to, I think, 50. We're a few short right now. We have a few people that don't have a spot. So.
Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Yes.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 5, consider motion to approve third reading of ordinance 2018-200, amend water and sewer rates, connection charges, and publishing required by law. Take a motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Motion carries. Item 6, consider motion to approve third reading of 2018 ordinance, 2018-300, amending the tree ordinance, and published as required by law. Take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Jump.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Motion carries. Item 7, consider motion to approve the third.
Jason.
Yes, sir. Sorry, apologize about that.
How, excuse me, that's all right. How does this affect what's happening up across the road?
when they,
Too late, right?
with the trees that are being removed,
Mm-hmm.
it's too late for that, but when they go in to, take out a building permit, it goes into effect.
Thank you.
Item 7, consider motion to approve the third reading of ordinance 2018-400, amending collection of solid waste, publishing required by. Take a motion.
So
Second.
Roll call.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
yes.
DeVore?
Motion carries. Item 8, consider motion to approve resolution 2018-31, approving suitable trees. You want this?
With the ordinance that was passed, there is a list of suitable trees that are encouraged in and around the area, and more specifically on city-owned property. This tree list is a part of your agenda. It is set in such a way that it can be amended from time to time by resolution, and that's why it was not included in the ordinance.
This was reviewed by the tree board and recommended, I assume.
And as well as P&Z, but
Right.
basically the input from tree board.
Questions?
Second.
Questions? Discussion? Roll call.
Vogel? Yes. Sarchet?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Motion carries. Item 7, calling a special council meeting on May 21st, 2018. You'll note that is a Monday, not on a typical night that we would have a meeting. It is at 5 o'clock. Questions, or I'm just going to call a meeting. I don't even have to ask for approval, do I? Okay, call in for a meeting on the 21st at 5. Next, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. You can say what it is. I'm sorry.
Real quick, 10-minute
10 minutes.
meeting.
Yeah.
We're going to go through with the beginning throws of the GEO bond for the water expansion project, and the dates that are necessary to get all the clocks running and the notices out by both federal and state didn't work without going into one special meeting. The rest of it is going to fall within all your normal meetings, but we do need one special.
Somebody.
Because we had canceled, have we already canceled the Memorial Day? No? But that would be the second meeting in
It has to do more with timing.
This is more time.
Yeah, we have to do it that week.
There's a bunch of clocks that are going. We'll still have our second meeting
Tuesday.
of the month, which will be the Tuesday after. I think that's on our next agenda to amend that and set that.
And if somebody can't attend, let us know and we can find a workaround. Yes, because this will be the only item on there, right?
It's the only item on there.
Okay. Next item is library proclamation, library week proclamation. I'm sorry, for April 8th through the 14th. You guys all had a copy of that, I believe, in your packet. So I'll read the last line that says, "Now, therefore, I, Jason Morse, Mayor of Polk City, Iowa, do hereby recognize the week of April 8th through the 14th, 2018, National Library Week of Polk City, Iowa. And I do encourage all residents to visit the library this week and explore what's new, because I think that there's a lot of stuff new up there."
There's a lot of new stuff.
That's what I thought.
There is.
There
You
is.
Make her sit all by herself, all the other departments.
Yeah, I know. She's back there. I'm expecting like a little update of what's all new here when we get to the department head reports too. So. Next item, item 9, mayor's appointment of a mobile food vendor committee. So this is something that we've kind of been watching pretty closely in the last couple of years. We've had various versions in front of Amy to look at. I think our last version was like September, and we've kind of been tabling it to see what all was happening in the metro. It's time for us to decide what we're going to do with food trucks in Polk City. So I've talked to Sean Comer. He's going to help out. He would like to serve on the committee. I talked to Jeff Walters. He said that he would serve on this committee as well. Myself, Gary Mahan, and I'm working on Sean Brulman, I think is his name. He does the Big Red Food Truck, Little Red Food Truck, whatever it is. and try and get that group together so we can talk about it, and hopefully come back with a good ordinance. There's various ordinances out there we've learned, and Amy, please interject if
Yeah,
I'm.
there is the draft that I think I prepared for you is
Yep.
based on Clive's, which
Yep.
they've had in place for a while and seems to have been working. Obviously, Des Moines has one. Theirs is a little bit different because they've got a particular zone that they deal specifically with. But the ones I've seen have been more akin to Clive's.
And we're a little unique here just in the lack of available real estate to put them on. So I think that's something we want to be sensitive to, parking issues, but then how we also handle special events and really being able to have some rules and regulations that go along with them. And being, so we're preventing somebody from just showing up with a, station wagon and selling food out of the back of the truck. We want, there to be regulations in place, whether it's fire, police, whatever, to be able to help us through all these things as well. So anyway, I think that's where we're going to go. Hopefully be able to get something put in place yet this year. Yes.
Do we want to limit it to food vendors?
Where are you going?
Ugliest call I got in 26 years was over a guy selling firewood up on the corner.
Let's start with food vendors and then maybe we'll come back to that
I
one.
think that's a yes.
No, I get it. I know exactly. But technically, can he do?
That would probably be covered by your peddlers
Peddlers,
and transient
yeah.
merchants ordinance that's already in place.
Right.
So if that comes up again,
Technically
let us
speaking, it's a
know,
no,
because,
right?
Yeah, it's probably a civil infraction violation.
As of right now.
Probably was at the time.
Probably wasn't the time, right? But as of right now, we do allow food trucks in town. Just to be clear, this doesn't affect anything for the chamber with Sounds on the Square, Farmers Market, Four Seasons Festival, because those right now are falling under the umbrella of the event. So, but we would still like to get our arms around that, and right now we just don't have our arms around it. So, anyway, we'll be bringing something back hopefully. And a couple years ago, I think when they first came up in Des Moines, it was nobody knew, and maybe they were just going to go away, and obviously that hasn't happened. So, and I do see some opportunities here, so we'll see how that ends up. So anyway, Jeff, thanks. Yep. Appreciate it. At least I asked you before I appointed you. What's that?
Before we move
Yeah.
on, I've also had someone contact me about putting speaking of food vendors, and maybe I have an answer for them now, I don't even know what you call it, a slushy stand, an icy stand, or what,
I think I've had the same call.
have you? Okay,
Yes. So this may address some.
yeah, I think that'll be the answer.
Good answer to tell them to do the work. Next item, particulars, reports. I just got a couple quick things beyond my little mobile food truck vendor thing. Obviously, thoughts and condolences out to the Burton family for loss of Mayor Mary Burton. I've always had a tough time saying that. Who served on the council, and I apologize, I don't have her obit in front of me. Ron, how many years?
2 terms.
2 terms and 2 terms as mayor. Yep. And very instrumental in the metro with her passion on recycling. Anyway.
And it was her leadership that got us to join my law with some of the other Central Iowa committees.
I had forgotten, again, like we said earlier, how instrumental she was on the recycling front.
Mm-hmm.
And that was truly her passion. Big for Polk City at the time. She will be missed. Want to thank staff after the last meeting, police department included. I know that we had some conversation around parking issue, crosswalks, those sorts of things. I know you guys met. I think that that's going to be work in progress, work with the school, trying to come up with a viable solution. But I also want to thank you guys because you guys have been up there monitoring the situation. I've been up there a few different times this week and I've actually seen your guys sitting up there and keeping track. So thank you to your department and you guys for being very aware. I've seen them both from drop off and pickup. So you guys are really, really appreciative. And I think that the plan would be to have something in place by next school year. We had a meeting this week on the traffic signal with Polk County, a couple different people from Polk County this week, and so that project is still actively moving forward. Just want to keep that on everybody's radar, that it is going to happen, and we're just working through the final details on that. After that, we also had a discussion with staff and myself. It's been kind of a pet peeve of mine here. Mike's probably tired of listening to me make these phone calls for the last 6 months, but at the next council meeting, we're going to be bringing forth a copy of the current sign policy that we have. This sign policy was put together in 2009, and it has to do with nonprofit and civic organizations and such. But this is mainly the 3 signs as you enter Polk City. One that's at Bridge Road, Parker, and out here across from Kiwanis Park. The one at Bridge Road is going to have to be removed because of the project that's going on anyway, which is kind of what kicked some of this off. So we're going to bring that forth next week to basically abolish that policy. But then I've also directed staff, and Mike, I know you guys can't wait to get started on this, but I really want to work on beautification of the entrances to Polk City, and various different things need to happen, but starting with removing of some signs, particularly signs that say, I'm not even going to get into the various civic organizations that are there for fear I'll forget one or one will take offense. But there are signs that everywhere you enter Polk City, and they've just become very overbearing. And so our goal is to in short time here, start working towards removing those signs. So Mike, I think after tonight's meeting, that was your goal. Your guys are going to go out and start removing them. We're going to figure out what we have, decide what we're going to do, if we're going to find a place to put those back, and then also remove these temporary signs that are we'll come up with a new home for them. The Comet sign that is down here, we've talked about that. It was never directed to be put down there. I think we're going to move that out to the sports complex as long as we can get through to make that happen. But we're going to try and just clean up some of these areas. We just have a lot of signs that have basically take away from a lot of the others. And Mike's kind of tired of me calling him every other week and saying, when are we going to pull the trigger on this? So, Mike, do you have anything to add that you and Randy would potentially like to say regarding signs?
Pulling them.
Okay.
No, it would be nice to have a ironclad policy.
Yep.
And I think it has gotten out of control a little bit, in my opinion. And there's a lot of signs out there, and people just don't pay attention to them after they're there for a while. I think it's a different time. It used to be where you need to say where you're at, but I think with smartphones and all technology, I don't think you need that sign sitting there anymore because people know what they're kind of looking for.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think it's a good thing.
Ron?
A lot of history on this. I think
Sure.
in Mike's tenure, I think
I'm sure.
I think the sign ordinance has been rewritten at least twice, if not more.
Yeah.
And like Mike said, it just seems to get ignored. We don't seem to do anything about it. It was all we felt in the past. It was always hard when a civic organization, i.e. the fire department, going to have a pancake breakfast. We don't want to tell them they can't have a sign up, and if they can, then who can? I don't want to be on that committee.
Well, and we've taken it a step further, that we also had a problem with who was responsible for removing temporary signs in the event that they weren't put in the correct place. And we've made some internal changes that I think have allowed for that, a better operation of a group that's willing to go out and actually remove said signs that if they are in the wrong place. So, about the minute we take down one sign, it seems like another comes in its place. So we'll start there. We'll start with this, removing those signs, at the entrance. We'll work towards the abolishing of the other policy that was put in place, not an ordinance, not a resolution, just a policy that was put in place to remove those signs. And then further work this summer towards the beautification of the entrances, whether it's pine trees that are continuing to be an issue or various other things, but trying to really focus on that this summer. That's a goal.
And that's where I think appreciate where you're going with the signs, because that's under our control. The next step, bigger wheel than turn, is working with the Corps to try and take what is our, to me, the most people coming into town are coming in either from the bridge or on 415 there, and that isn't our land right across the bridge there. For the most part, it's Army Corps land, but it's the first thing people see. So a lot of dead stuff. So I know you guys have had those conversations. I'm not telling anybody anything new, but I think that's a stronger push that we can try to make with that. And Mike, I know it's another thing to do, like a hole in their hand, but if we can put together some proposal, inch away at the resistance that we've been met with, do anything there, we win for all the time. So.
I think some of this too has started even with White House going down, right? I mean, we're slowly chipping away, and so again, I did mention to Mike that if the saw slips while you're taking out signs too, I'm not playing.
I was just
I
gonna
did put it
say,
on the record.
something definitely needs to be done. We have to just make sure it's fair and equitable
Yep.
and it is enforced.
Yep, and I think that that's it, and it's the enforcement thing that we really need to work on, and we've got, in meeting with Chief Kendig, he was very willing to tackle this from your department, so I'm much appreciated on that front.
I've had a few people over the years ask me about garage sale signs, if they're having a garage sale. And I've always told them, if you have a garage sale on Friday and Saturday and you take it down on Sunday, I don't think you'll have a problem.
Yep.
Wouldn't leave them up weeks.
And the other thing that came out of this conversation was putting together, similar to some other things that you've done for us, is an informational piece, on those things that do go up, whether it's Girl Scout selling cookies or garage sales or politics signs. I just think that we've got to get that information out there after we get this settled. So hopefully this goes somewhere. Anyway, that's enough of my soapbox on signs because I've been beating Mike up for 6 months. That's all I have. Plenty of things there. Who else has something tonight?
I'll just say, in general, so we attended back up to the Easter egg hunt on Saturday morning. There was supposed to be an Easter egg hunt, but I want to thank everybody that was involved in the event at Lakeside. That worked out great to have more of a carnival thing inside. Breakfast was great. So, another great community event that was pulled off by a lot of people, and given the weather, their backup plan turned out great.
They hide white eggs outside.
No, they did not. They just had all kinds of carnival games and lots of fun stuff.
My condolences go out again to the Burton family, as Jason said as well. Public service, we hope that's all about. We appreciate her time, and also apologize for being gone the last couple meetings. I was on a mission trip. No, apologize for being gone.
Oh my God.
Wow. No, glad to be back. Really glad to be back.
Probably was a mission.
Oh, wow, you said that. Jeez. Jeff, Ron, anybody?
Oh, nothing. Good meeting.
Yeah, it's fine.
I would echo what Mandy said. The Kiwanis and Lakeside Fellowship Church put on a very good activity for the community last Saturday. Given the weather, what they pulled off Saturday was excellent for kids. It was packed. So it's a good venue, and the Kiwanis did another good service. Hats off to everyone there.
I do.
Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. As you have alluded to and addressed, we have had some internal conversations on the school crosswalks and West Side Drive. Hope to have some suggested improvements in front of the council here very soon. Davis Street reconstruction project next week, tree removal. The week of April 16th is planned start of construction.
How many trees did we have? Any sizable ones that we're going to hear about? Or
Oh, there's a couple sizable, but I think total about 6. And road will be down to local traffic only sometime about April 16th.
I have a question on that, just because I know it's coming up, just because it's affecting my kid. Is Little League going to be using that field? No, not using that field this fall or this spring. Okay.
does anybody?
Probably not, because no place to park.
We closed it because there's no place to park.
You know, from the Little League meeting last night, that's like a kind of big problem for them. In fact, they were going to call and ask if they could even use it for a couple of weeks because they had like massive growth again this year. There's not enough places to actually fit everybody in. Right.
I know from when
They reached
I've
out to
heard
Dave.
that my practices are going to be out there.
What's that?
I know when my scheduled practices are going to be. So.
Yeah, they had a really hard.
Besides their numbers being up, I think they've lost a couple spots. They lost a spot at the Lutheran Church for practice, and they're really going to be hard pressed for
Lutheran Church students still be.
softball or for baseball.
Yeah.
Well, T-ball.
Yeah.
T-ball is right.
Okay, what I heard was that North Polk Soccer Association at least.
I believe this is like.
I
believe we're sharing it. This is
That's
what
my
I
understanding as
We
well.
are sharing it. The T-ballers have half of the T-ball field, the other half is soccer. So good. Everybody's playing well.
Sorry for derailing. I was just asking the question on Davis. What else?
That's it,
That was it. You want to tell us about all the good stuff at the library tonight?
Should I start with the fact that the sign is up?
Yes, go for it. It's a nice sign.
So yeah, the Friends of the Library, the fundraising, their sign went up, I don't know, about 3-4 weeks ago. So that's really nice. We're able to program that from inside and let people know what's going on.
Does look nice, by the way. It does look nice.
So the shelves have all been reset. So they finished, they did most of it about 3 weeks ago, did the final touches on Friday, and just looks a whole lot bigger in there.
And refresh our memory, where did the shelves come from? There was a donation thing?
Most of the shelves, actually, the shelves, we did a budget amendment to
Okay.
fund that.
Yeah.
There was very little that was actually purchased. It was, we used what we had, and then there were just some brackets and things, and the company just reset them and a lot more floor space. So it looks brighter in there. The windows on that side, instead of having the shelves kind of blocking them. So
Great.
that looks nice.
You have Keurig maker, I saw.
We've got the Keurig. We have an activity table now that rotates between a train table, a Lego table, and a lights table. So, the other day we had 27 kids at story time, and then they all stayed and played for an hour afterwards. So, lots of good energy in there. We'll be having a mural painted in the kids area here shortly. We had a memorial donation. That's going to cover that. Getting some teen furniture. Yet that will be coming from the Friends, I think. And then the other big thing that we have coming is our Adventure Pass, which should go active May 1st. They had a training today. There's another one coming up, but that's going to allow library patrons to check out passes to the zoo and the Science Center and Living History Farms, and Botanical Center just came on board too. So
That is nice. It's a good service.
So-
Right.
and
I'll
the
bet you
Friends
that's
of the
gonna be
Library are
popular.
covering the expenses for that as well.
That's awesome.
Great job.
Lots of exciting stuff going on up there. Cool. Anybody else have anything? Police department? Nothing from us?
Motion to
There
adjourn.
you go. All in favor?
The airport.